Hey everyone, hello, this is Mrs. Contos, and today we're going to talk about the budgeting principles. So I'm going to go ahead and click into full screen and get myself off of here so that you can focus on what is on the slides and what I'm saying. Okay, so there are some principles of budgeting that we are going to be following throughout this unit. You all have your success criteria posted in your learning assignment. We are focused on this first bullet point, define and give examples of pay yourself first, 50, 20, 30, 20, 10, and then we have some different definitions. I've already given you all the vocabulary in your learning assignment. Please make sure that you review it. All right, so when we talk about a budget is a spending plan. That's all it is. You are comparing how much money you have, which is your income, to how much money you've spent, which is your expenses. And then you have to factor in, along with your expenses, any money that you maybe owe to people, which is your debt. You're going to be thinking in terms of income, giving, saving, and spending. And generally speaking, our budgets are based on a monthly amount, and we always want to consider our net income, which is the money we actually make after taxes are taken out. Do not budget with a gross income, because then you're budgeting for money that you won't have. We are going to be spending a lot of time next week looking at a zero-based budget, so just be aware that that is something that we're looking at as we move forward. We want to use all our money. Okay, so financial priorities. When you make a budget, keep in mind, what are your values? What are your goals? Why do you want to use the money, and how do you want to use the money? And then we start putting our principles into place. So the first principle is called PYF, pay yourself first. And this is a really important principle because if you don't pay yourself first, usually you will end up spending all your money and have nothing left for savings. So the rule is put 10% of your monthly net income into savings before you spend anything out of what you've earned. A lot of people do this by having direct deposit with their paychecks, and they can set it up with their employers that some of the direct deposit goes into a checking account and some of the direct deposit goes into a savings account, or you can set it up in your bank to have money automatically transferred every month from checking to savings. The reason that we do this is primarily because everybody needs an emergency fund. You need to have money set aside in case you get sick and you have doctor bills, or your car breaks down and you need to repair it. Anything that might be an unexpected expense that you have to take care of right away. And the experts say, hey, you should have at least 3 to 6 months of your basic monthly living expenses set aside in an emergency fund. All right, our second budgeting principle is called 50, 30, 20. So 50, 30, 20 says, let's take all of the money that you are budgeting and let's make sure that we're using appropriate amounts. So obviously, you have needs, things that have to be taken care of. 50% of your monthly net income is going to go to those. When we think about needs, we think about housing, we think about transportation, we think about anything that you might need for your job. Maybe you have a family to support. What are things that you absolutely have to have? Food, right? Okay, savings. Notice that now they've changed the percentage. Pay yourself first says take 10% of your monthly net income and put it into savings right away. Now we have 20%, and the reason they have 20% is because 10% is the savings that we just talked about where you have an emergency fund. The other 10% would be for your financial goals, maybe your investments for retirement. So you're going to be looking at a couple different ways to approach savings. And 30% is for all the things that you enjoy in life that you want. So maybe you love to eat out or go to movies or go to concerts, or you have hobbies that you spend money on. Those are all the wants. And it's really important that you do have money budgeted for your wants, because realistically, you won't follow a budget if you're not enjoying your life. And then the last one is called the 20-10 rule. And this is specifically if you have borrowed money and you're paying it back. So maybe you borrowed money to buy a car, so you have a car loan and you have a car payment every month. Or maybe you have been using your credit cards and you charged more than you can afford to pay, And so now you have payments that you're making. So the way that this works is you should not borrow in any one year more than 20% of your monthly pay, or sorry, your annual net pay. So I'm going to say that again. I messed up. You should not borrow within a year more than 20% of your annual net pay. So what do you get paid in a year? Don't borrow more than 20%. And then once you're making your payments to pay back that loan or pay back that credit card, you should not be spending more than 10% of your monthly net pay on those payments. If you are going above those amounts, you probably are carrying too much debt. Now, the two types of debt that don't apply to this are mortgages and student loans, because mortgages are for houses. Those are really expensive. And student loans are for your college expenses, and those are also pretty expensive. So they don't really apply to this rule. All right, so you can see my takeaway messages here. It's really, really critical that you make a budget by writing things down and thinking through your income and your expenses. You're setting up your goals. You're tracking your spending and savings. You're following the recommendations that we just talked about. Make sure you have an emergency fund, and don't rely on credit. We are going to spend a lot of time next week on tracking your spending, and I'm just going to throw out a couple of ways to do that so you can start thinking about it. Some people write things down on pen and paper. Some people make notes in their phones. Some people use apps that you can actually track your spending and saving on an app. Others like to put it into a spreadsheet. Or some people like to use what's called the envelope system, which is a really nice way you can use it either with different bank accounts for different expenses, or you can actually have physical envelopes with money in them. And once that money is gone or that account is done, then you no longer can spend on that category. So think about those different options. Think about what would work best for you. And as you continue through your learning assignment this week, make sure that you're writing down any questions you have so that you can bring those in when we meet in person. All right, everybody, I hope this has made sense, and I hope it wasn't too long for you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.